Hi, this is the Football Nerd, not FIFA, just football, and in this episode I'll be talking about the Premier League in part 2 of my season preview. I'll be talking about the confirmed transfers from every club and the key men from each club, as well as the managers and betting. So there are 4 teams that could win it, but I stand with the majority who backed Chelsea for top spot after claiming the title with relative ease last season. It's been a quiet summer for Mourinho, while the other top 4 clubs have been making a lot of noise, but they haven't needed to raise the volume in terms of signing players. Mourinho has reached a point where it's difficult for him to improve his squad. There was talk of Paul Pogba, but he says, in his words, that it'd be like having the Eiffel Tower in your back garden. What I think he means by that is he struggles to see a regular place in the first team for even a player of his quality. I think he'd be rotated with Ramirez and Matic. His strikers are his main cause for concern, with Diego Costa having injury doubts and Falcao hardly being in goal-scoring form. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him snatch his old Real striker Karim Benzema away from Wenger, as I think he's been waiting for deadline day to make his big marquee signing. And it would be a very arrogant, very Mourinho thing to do. The 3 clubs below Chelsea will be interchangeable throughout the season, but I'm going to make a call on Arsenal coming second. Mourinho's comments about Arsene Wenger and the other challengers spending big might be mind games because he knows Van Gaal and Pellegrini and particularly Wenger can all challenge him, so he's trying to warn them off spending much more. I think Arsenal will be Chelsea's toughest competition, with their strength and depth looking like giving it a real go. And I know this is said every year, but I think this is without doubt the best Arsenal team since they last won the title over 10 seasons ago, with so many of their players hitting their peak age as footballers. Similar to Mourinho, Wenger will be content with his squad, but he also doesn't look too strong up front. I can't see a side with Olivier Giroud, Danny Welbeck and Theo Walcott up front winning the title. It just doesn't happen. And some would argue that they need a Patrick Vieira type ball winner in midfield. Is young Francis Coquelin really that player? So Arsenal could do with a Paul Pogba and a Karim Benzema to really be considered title challengers. United will finish higher than last season. How high remains to be seen, but I've gone for a place above. They've signed Bastian Schweinsteiger, who is the missing piece in the puzzle. United were overrun in midfield against smaller clubs when they committed too far forward, but Schweinsteiger will break up play and will be an important player. Another new signing, Memphis Depay, could be a key man, who has played in behind Rooney in pre-season wearing the number 9 shirt. He could well be scoring the goals along with Rooney. Van Gaal will be up for a battle of wits with Mourinho and did well in the big games last season, but they need to avoid dropping points to lesser sides, which cost them, particularly at the start of the season. If they can beat all the sides that finish below them, they will be in for a shout of taking the title back to Old Trafford. But they're counting on Memphis Depay, who is unproven in the Premier League, and they could lose Angel Di Maria. I've gone against the bookies on last season's finish by saying City will finish 4th, and if they're off the pace by the new year, Pellegrini will probably be sacked, which won't help. If they're a sports car, they'd be a Mercedes S-Class. Very expensive, but impressive. The very best a few years back, but others have overtaken them in recent years and are starting to lose popularity. Pellegrini will be hoping his speedy winger Raheem Sterling can get off to a flying start to life at City. He might do, but him and Fabian Delph aren't big game players. Sterling has yet to score a goal against a top 4 club. Sergio Aguero played in every game for Argentina at the Copa America, but he always has injury troubles, and their defence is weak. It's an ageing squad. Other than Joe Hart, David Silva and Sergio Aguero, their entire starting 11 of last season were at least 30. Christian Benteke's goals will be the difference between Liverpool finishing inside or outside of the European places without Sterling. Brendan Rodgers has done his business early, selling Sterling and replacing him with Firmino, along with James Milner on a free, which is a very useful signing. Danny Ings was another big money buy to bolster the attack. Another car analogy: if Liverpool were a car, they'd be a Ford rally car. It's reliable and alright to start with, and a lot of money is being spent on it, but it's still a Ford Focus and not quite a Subaru. So Liverpool should be ready for a bumpy ride. They could have made the top four with Sturridge all the way through, but the goals dried up with only Ricky Lambert as a recognised striker. Sturridge is still out, but they have striking reinforcements to stop their season breaking down in April. I think they'll just miss out on the Champions League. We should see more of the same from Spurs, who pipped Liverpool to 5th on the last day of the season. Pochettino didn't get enough credit for how good his side were. Harry Kane was Player of the Year, scoring 21 goals. It wasn't just Kane that had a great season though. Christian Eriksen and Nasser Chadli were consistent too and gave him plenty of good service. They have plenty of quality, albeit in what is a very young midfield and a solid but ever-changing defence with the reliable Hugo Lloris in goal, who they've kept from Man United. There were murmurs of Harry Kane also going to Old Trafford, and still is, but I'm sure he'll stay at Spurs for now, and I'm sure they'll benefit from another season of stability after a hectic few years of transitional period, with many changes to coaching and playing staff. I think it'll be another successful season for Southampton. I don't think anyone should bet against Ronald Koeman's side. They were written off last season after losing 3 of their best players to Liverpool, but actually did better than in the previous season. I can see them remaining in 7th despite selling 3 more of their best. Schneiderlin has gone to Man U, Klein to Liverpool, and losing out on a permanent deal for fullback Alderweireld. But Saints fans have nothing to fear going into the new season because they've brought quality foreign players in, with Jordi Clasie, Cedric Suarez and Cuco Martina joining, who are straight swaps that can be just as good. I actually quite like the Southampton model of buying cheap foreign talent, selling them on for inflated prices and buying some more. Added to that, graduates from their excellent youth academy. I've gone for Stoke to finish 8th. I could have gone for my team to finish 7th, but I like the look of Southampton and our away form has never been great. I think we'll win more often than we lose at home though. Stoke have beaten every team bar Man City, Leicester, West Ham and the promoted clubs at home of all the sides in the league in 2 seasons under Mark Hughes. His team looks even better now he's improved the strength in depth, with some exciting new signings such as Joselu and Ibrahim Afellay in attack. Glenn Johnson is only 30, so has a few more years left. Shay Given adds experience to our young goalkeeping options, and Mark Van Ginkel looks a good prospect from Chelsea on loan. So if not through our league position, Stoke could make Europe through a cup run. Losing Steven Nzonzi and Asmir Begovic won't be a problem, with Jack Butland and Mark Van Ginkel able to step in. So big things are expected from this team, and I don't think Stoke fans will be disappointed. Everton had a season to forget last season. They drew games they should have won and were uncharacteristically leaky at the back. Their key men were out injured for large periods, like Leighton Baines and Romelu Lukaku, who were both out injured for 7 games, and Ross Barkley was out for 9. It was the games Baines was ruled out for mid-season when Everton were really poor and only won 1 game, which proves how important he is to the team. All 3 are back now though, and they should get themselves back in the top half. No one expected Everton to finish 11th a season after coming 5th, but injuries and the Europa League led to their poor performances in the new year. But without European commitments and with Di Lefeo and Tom Cleverley, Everton will be back where they should be. Crystal Palace finished the season in fine form last campaign. They climbed up into the top half of the table, and that's where they should remain for most of next season if signings Connor Wickham and Patrick Bamford can score the goals up top, and if Yannick Bolasie and Wilfried Zaha can continue on from where they left off last season. They're the only real ifs because they have a settled defence and two good goalkeepers in Wayne Hennessy and Alex McCarthy. Not to mention a central midfield of the talented duo Yohan Cabaye and Joe Ledley. And it'll be interesting to see how Bakary Sakho does playing in behind the striker. It's hard to spot any weaknesses in this Palace team, a side that look to be pushing on after 2 seasons of consolidating their Premier League status, and Alan Pardew is the man to take them further. And it looks a clever bet for Palace to remain in 10th at 15-2. I don't think Swansea will do as well as last season's heroics. They came up with some real one-off results. They kept out Arsenal to beat them home and away, and also beat Man United at Old Trafford on the first day of the season, when Van Gaal was just finding his feet. But on other days those sides could have easily beaten them like Chelsea did, and if they did, then Swansea would have finished 11th. But I'm taking nothing away from Gary Monk, who has improved the team's defence and made them more direct going forward. But he hasn't needed to go on a big spending spree this summer. Andre Ayew and Frank Taberneau, 2 star players from League One last season, and Portuguese striker Eder add to a strong squad which has plenty of team spirit, with 13 British players who have a good understanding. Swansea fans have reason to feel optimistic, but so do so many clubs that have strengthened this summer. West Ham will be a more adventurous attacking side under new manager Slaven Bilic, who will play a 4-4-1-1, and all of his players are expected to attack and defend as a team. It was that system that has frustrated England and a number of bigger countries at major tournaments, with Bilic as their manager. He's left a legacy in the Croatia national team, as they've kept the 4-4-1-1 ever since he resigned 3 years ago. The Hammers should be an overall better team with him in charge, and not Allardyce, whose long ball up to a big man up top started to frustrate fans and owners alike. In Dimitri Payet, they have a quality attacker to work with Diafra Sakho and Andy Carroll when he returns. Upton Park is known as the home of football, so it'll be nice for West Ham to play a bit in its farewell season. West Brom will have another season in mid-table under Tony Pulis. You can never have a Pulis team down as relegation candidates. What you can do, though, is limit where they'll finish in the league. You can guarantee they'll be in the bottom half. His highest finish with Stoke was 12th. He finished 11th with Palace and 12th with West Brom last season. They now have 2 reliable goal scorers in Ricky Lambert and Saido Berahino, but not that that will matter much. West Brom fans will see more of the same of yesterseason. You know what to expect from Tony Pulis' teams. They will sucker punch teams on the counter-attack and have the defensive organisation to hold on to a 1-0 lead at home. But that doesn't always translate away from home, with only 4 away wins all season, and all in fortuitous circumstances. So I think Slaven Bilic's West Ham can take their 12th place position. Many credible journalists and pundits have gone for Leicester to finish in the bottom 3. This has come as a shock to me after both the way they finished last season and having a proven European level manager appointed at the end of the season. Maybe the undeserved sacking of Nigel Pearson was the reason behind doubting them. Pearson did a great job keeping them in the Premier League. However, I think people need to forget about who they've lost and focus on who they've gained. Claudio Ranieri is a step in the right direction for Leicester. Yes, Pearson would probably have kept them up again, but Ranieri can make them an established force in the Premier League with a more positive style of play and the subsequent ability to attract better players. The situation is similar to Nigel Adkins' sacking at Southampton after winning back-to-back promotions. There becomes a limit to how far a manager can take a club. Atkins reached that limit and foreigner Mauricio Pochettino took over and progressed the club even further. Newcastle should finish higher than their rivals on the Weir and always seem to end up higher than Sunderland. Last season's 14th will go down as a steady mid-table season, but it was anything but under John Carver, who was out of his depth as a manager. It could be more of the same under Steve McLaren, who has the worst job in football. Newcastle fans may disagree, but judging on Palace's rise and Tomb's fall after Alan Pardew's sacking, the club should have kept him in charge. Steve McClaren has a similar job on his hands to other new bosses Claudio Ranieri, Dick Advocaat and Slav Bilic, who would all like to finish in the top half, but it'll be beyond them and I think they'll have to settle with staying up. McClaren needs to make his team more disciplined, both in terms of defensively and keeping 11 men on the pitch. They had a league-high 7 red cards last season. He has a surprisingly strong team to work with, though. Now they've signed a few more foreign talents, but it could easily go awry again and get off to a bad start, and Toom fans will start to get restless. Another sacking could just be round the corner. I have the 2 North East clubs in the Championship to finish very close to each other, and the same goes for the 2 in the Premier League. Sunderland are in the same boat as Newcastle this season. They were very poor last season, and due to that, their main aim will be to simply stay in the division. They'll have to try and do it without the man who has helped keep them up over the past 2 seasons, with joint top scorer Connor Wickham joining Palace. However, they are in no way struggling for strikers. Jermaine Defoe scored some important goals since his January move. Stephen Fletcher always seems to score when he's injury-free. Danny Graham needs a starting place and match fitness to hit form again. And Dutch striker Jeremy Lens is just as prolific a goal scorer as Wickham, although in the Dutch and Ukrainian leagues. But they need to improve defensively, and Yunus Kabul should help them with that. But carry on losing to other bottom half clubs and they will remain in 16th. It's easy to write Norwich off after they were relegated 2 years ago and had to win the playoffs to get back up. But they beat a very good Borough side to win promotion and were a better team under Alex Neil when he took over last season, after having fallen off the pace. He earned them a playoff place and very nearly an automatic promotion place. They maybe would have reached the top 2 with Neil all the way through. The majority of their team is the same as the one 2 seasons ago, but with Nathan Redmond and Ryan Bennett 2 years more experienced, record signing Van Wolfswinkel back after a successful loan spell, and with a few proven Premier League players with West Brom trio Andre Wisdom, Yusuf Malumbu and Graham Dorrans, along with Robbie Brady and Cameron Jerome. So I favour Norwich to do better than the other promoted clubs. This is my biggest call. Villa are a big club, but will be down there after losing Christian Benteke, whose goals have single-handedly kept them up in the past 3 seasons, and Fabian Delph, Villa's player of the season. This could mean Villa will be relegated next season, and it shouldn't be a surprise. They finished last season just 3 points above the relegation area, and have struggled in the past few seasons. Micah Richards is a good signing, and Villa fans are telling me they've signed some highly rated young talents like Jordan Ayew, Idrissa Gueye and Rudy Stede. So all are improving at the top level, and Emmanuel Adebayor was in the best form of his career under Tim Sherwood, but he was otherwise bang average for Spurs. So this could be the season Villa are relegated for the first time in Premier League history. It will be very close down at the bottom, but I think Bournemouth will also go down. They remind me a lot of Blackpool when they came up. They've never been in the Premier League before. They've got players with a point to prove despite not having a top tier experience. And I think they'll give it a good go, but like Blackpool, they won't be good enough to stay up. Matt Ritchie and Callum Wilson will prove to be capable of playing in the Premier League and will probably earn a move to a bigger club next summer. Their manager, Eddie Howe, is another plus for them. He earned a lot of praise for playing an attacking style in the Championship last season, and I think they'll surprise a few teams playing like that. But it leaves them open at the back. They might be better off defending deeper now they're in the Premier League. But because their main strength is in attack, they won't and will concede a lot of goals. And I think Watford will finish bottom. They were the best overall team in the Championship last season, but Norwich and Bournemouth have made up a lot of ground on them in the transfer market. I don't think Watford have done quite as well, although they've got a lot of players in. And similar to Bournemouth, they have very little Premier League experience. I think that's where Norwich will have a major advantage over them. Watford went straight down, finishing bottom last time they were in the league, and 9 years later they look like doing the same. Troy Deeney will have to be on fire for Watford to have a chance of survival, and Deeney has never played in the league before, and they have a trigger-happy owner, and I think it'll be a long and difficult season if they lose Chique Flores. So this is my table prediction. I hope you agree with it. If not, then post a comment and we'll discuss why I'm right. But obviously there's no right answers at this stage. They're all still very much predictions. I might be right, I might be wrong, we don't know yet. So it was very difficult picking a top four, really. Not just a winner, but the order of my top four. And the same goes for the bottom three as well. That any side from the bottom six could go down. So that was difficult. It was very difficult because it's such an unpredictable league. I don't think there's a league quite like the Premier League where we don't know even at this stage who's going to be in with a shout of winning it. It could be out of 4 teams, whereas in other leagues like the Spanish League and the German League, etc., there are only 2 real candidates to win the league. So there you go, and I've been the Football Nerd. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with more football videos.